Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Abdallah, for granting us this interview of Kenya Medical Association at 50. We are interviewing people who have journeyed through Kenya Medical Association in the 50 years and before and after. In our structure, we want you to give us a brief history of yourself, your journey in KMA, what achievements you at KMA have made, and what you think the challenges have been, and what you see as the future role of the Kenya Medical Association in the healthcare of this country and beyond. I think you can take it from there.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Professor Mohammed Said Abdullah. Trained in Makerere for my first degree. There was no medical school in Kenya at that time. Completed in 1971, came here to Kenya, did my internship at Kenyatta National Hospital, finished that. At that time, it was compulsory to do 2 years field work before you even contemplate on doing postgraduate studies. So I did that, completed it, came back again to Nairobi. There was a program between the British Council and the Kenya government to send people for postgraduate training abroad. So our predecessors went. Fortunately or unfortunately, during our time the curtain came down. And the government of Kenya says, no more, we will train them ourselves. So thank you, the British Council was told, we don't need your scholarships anymore. So they were stopped. So when we went and said, okay, now that the British scholarships are stopped, where do we go? I said, oh, we'll think about it. So actually they did not even have a program then. So we marked timed for about 2 years. But they did provide, in the end, training locally here. And so we did our postgraduate masters in medicine, completed that in 1975. By that time, they had already started the medical school because they wanted to have a medical school here in Kenya. So University of Nairobi was commissioned to do just that. So the school was commissioned, opened, minus the teachers. There were no teachers. The teachers were going to be us. So the Kenya government once again went and entered into an understanding with the Canadian government on the one hand and the Scottish government on the other hand. So mainly pediatricians were sent to Scotland and adult people were sent to Canada. So we were the beneficiaries. It was a 10-year program where middle career Kenyans who had done their MMed would be sent there to subspecialize. Cardiology, renal, whatever it was, neurology and so on. In the meantime, those of us who left here, we left a gap. So 3 to 5 people will go to Canada each year, and 3 to 5 very senior people from McGill University in Canada would come to Kenya to replace us. So the senior guys would come here and us would go there to do whatever it is we wanted to do, which is what I benefited from. Went there in 1977, came back in 1978, trained nephrologist, the only nephrologist in Eastern Central Africa. 1 year later, I was followed by L.S. Otieno, whom you probably know very well. So over a period of 10 years, something like 70 or 100 of us were trained, and we came back now and filled the University of Nairobi Medical School. So we started working at that time. So on coming back, of course, we were invited back to the medical school, but also invited to Kenya Medical Association, which we joined in as good numbers as possible, for it to become our tool to continue the development. At that time, the tradition was the medical association was predominantly an Asian group because there were no Africans anyways, and very, very few Africans at that time. And even the few Africans who were there were not interested. So at that time, the tradition was the assistant secretary becomes secretary, and secretary becomes associate chair, and then chair in succession. So the elections were very short. You would go there, these guys just move up, and 5-10 minutes later, the election is complete. The associate chair becomes chair, the chair becomes, whatever, you are, and so on. But we had enough numbers of Africans at that time. So we planned a coup. And we said we are going to take over. This meeting was taking place in Kisumu. And in Kisumu, as usual, people assembled to start our usual so-and-so now, who was Secretary General, becomes Associate Chair. And so-and-so Associate Chair now becomes, no, we also want to contest. So we raised our hands. Yeah, I wasn't one of those, I was very young. So there was a war between the Asian group and the African group. Yeah? And for some reason or the other, and I don't even know why, but my name got mentioned at that time, and I was friendly to both sides. So it was like, how about Dr. Abdullah becoming the Secretary General? And both groups went, yeah! And I stood up to protest, and I was told, shut up! So I shut up. I was appointed Secretary General. I came back to Nairobi after that meeting feeling dizzy because I wasn't sure what KMA was all about. So there was a gentleman called Kamda. He was the Secretary General. I went to his office. I said, what is this KMA thing anyway, now that I'm the Secretary General? He said, don't worry, we'll train you, we'll show you the way. And he was very nice to me. He held my hand and showed me the way. I followed him. Near Parliament building, there's the Professional Society building. That's where all the professionals are. The lawyers had one floor, the architects had another floor, all the way to the top. And then in the basement below was where KMA was. So I went to that place, downstairs. No windows, nothing. There was a little window, you look like that and you see people in the pavement walking. That was the only window. This is KMA, yes. There was an elderly lady, a Mzungu lady called Mrs. Green. And she was sitting there alone with her East African Medical Journal. She was correcting things. So I went there and I said, good morning, Mrs. Green. Yes. So my name is Dr. Abdullah. Yes. I'm the new Secretary General. Yes. I said, look, I've come. I'm the doctor. I said, look, no doctor has ever come here. So go away, you are disturbing me. She was busy with her East African Medical Journal. I said, whoo. I don't know what the meaning of this is. I said, listen, you are saying go away? Yes. I said, listen, I thought I am the employer and you are the employee. He says, I told you, you are disturbing me. Go away. So I went back to Camden. I said, is that KMA? This has to change. Inside myself, I said, no, this has to change. So I worked very hard. I called my colleagues as well, Professor Juan and the others who are my age mates. You guys, come on. Now that we've taken over KMA, is that what this is going to be? We play cricket and then we appoint each other and then we do it again next year? No, we have to give back to society. So let us begin to write proposals. Let us go. So I went to Afia House, Dr. Kwenange at that time, the Director of Medical Services. How can we work with you? How can we work together? So we started plotting and planning and so on. He was very grateful. We agreed we are going to start CMEs, yeah? Continuing Medical Education Program. I negotiated with him. He said, listen, I will give you a vehicle, you fuel it, and you go wherever you want to go. And I said, I'm going to go. And we are going to create branches. Kisumu branch, Nakuru branch, Mombasa branch. Mombasa was already on. It was an elder one. Just like Nairobi. These two were there already. But I still wanted to come, and I think Nathwani will remember me, the elder ones, Dillon will remember me, that I kept coming here again and again and again to have CMAs, and Nakuru the same and so on. So we would fuel the vehicle and then go and do a CMA and tell people, enroll, enroll, enroll. So we did that. My suspicion was, now that we had a coup, the following year there will be a counter coup, because the meeting was now coming to Mombasa. And in Mombasa, the large majority of the doctors were Asians again. And I said, ooh, it's going to happen. So I went back to Kwenange. And I said, Dr. Kwenange, can we have all the civil servant doctors attend this meeting as if it is a compulsory government meeting? He said, sure. We will give them per diem. We will tell them to attend like it's a government duty. Let them come. So about 150 of us descended on Mombasa. And our 110 Asian colleagues went, you never have a meeting like that, ever. where you have 110. There used to be 30, 40, elect each other, but they had come with that idea that we are taking this thing back, only to discover 150 of us stand up. And it was the largest ever KMA meeting at that time. 250 of us assembling here in Mombasa. But we had a meeting, took it back, and I think our colleague says, let's not fight, let's join hands. So we joined hands, and we acted now as one from then on. But we were to write proposals to the government to say we will do varieties of things. And the Ministry of Health agreed to quite a number of things. For example, they said we should form a disciplinary committee. It says we are receiving large numbers of complaints about doctors overcharging, doctors doing 1, 2, 3. It is intimidating bringing them to the board. Can you guys form a screening, if you like, or a filter, where the elders will call the young ones and say, listen, tone down. What is this charging 5 times as much? You know? And only if you feel there's a medical legal issue, then refer it now to the board. So we did that function for the government. Then they allowed us to write a number of papers on their behalf. Like, for example, the workmen's compensation was actually done by us. The paper to do with reproductive health in Kenya. At that time, family planning was a no-go zone for the government of Kenya. But we went into it and we assisted. In fact, the paper on reproductive health for the parliament was written by us as Kenya Medical Association. Meetings were being held. At that time, Mwai Kibaki was the vice president, and we were invited as KMA for the first time to join the effort of the government on a number of things. So it was good that KMA had now woken up to a newer role than what it used to be, a social get-together, it stopped. Meanwhile, we were asked to write proposals. And I used to ask my colleague, let's write proposals. Abdullah, you do it. Abdullah, you do it. So for about 2 to 3 years, I was writing proposals elsewhere, and I tumbled and fell upon a good thing. Pathfinder was an organization, international organization, that came forward and says, yes, why not? Why can't we allow private sector also? Why not only government? Let's give them money. Let the GPs also join in the reproductive health, because people go to them as well. Why can't we join them? So that's how we got fast funding, which was supposed to be government funding, to go to KMA. And we never looked back. And quite a number of others also came at that time. So suddenly KMA became so busy. And this dungeon in the basement of professionals no longer became tenable. We had to do something else. We were lucky. We had a guy on our side, because we had now agreed Asians and Africans are going to join hands. A guy called Yusuf Haraj. Bold character he was. Yeah? Quiet but mischievous in his own ways. He could enter any door in this republic. So he says, let's go and tell the government we are doing a good thing, they know it. We wrote compensation for them, we wrote World Bank papers for them. Why can't they look back and give us something? Says, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. So we went to office of the president and we met Simon Nyachai, who was at that time head of public service. We told him all this. Take us to State House. We are going to ask for it ourselves. We are not asking you to do it for us. Take us there. He was kind. We were taken to the government and we said, we are here, we are your servants, we are doing a good thing, don't you think? We scratch your back, you scratch our back. So we were told, okay, you go, we'll let you know. For about 2 years, we didn't hear from them. And then suddenly one day, we were told, come. You are wanted in State House, 7:30 in the morning. We had no idea why we were wanted in State. We had forgotten about the application. We actually had an emergency KMA meeting that evening in the dungeon. One of us did something wrong. Because those days when you are called, you disappear, you don't come back. So we said, something is wrong. If any one of us has done something, please own up. Don't put into trouble the rest of us. And we searched ourselves. Okay, let's go. So in the morning we woke up, we told our wives, in case I don't come back, look after the children. And we went. And then it was like, you remember, you guys, you said you wanted help from the government. Yeah. We like you. You're doing a good thing. What we don't like is LSK. These lawyers, troublesome. But you guys, you're doing a good job. So we've agreed we will give you. So they gave us the current plot where the Kenya Medical Association is. A 4-acre plot with 2 houses on it. These were senior judges who were occupying those. They were told to go elsewhere. They were given houses elsewhere. I don't even know where. So suddenly, We had that. It didn't go very well with the operatives in government. They didn't like the idea. So we were summoned and we were told, you're going to have to put a deposit. 1.6 million shillings within the next 7 days, or else you lose. Now, where do we get? In 7 days, where do you get 1.6? In those days, that was a lot of money. But we put our heads together. Now, before we came in, our predecessors, our Asian group, had actually put in money, investments, quite a number of places, pepper mills and I don't know what, and clothing industries and so on. They bought shares on our behalf, and a little bit more than 1.6 million could be raised. So they went and talked between themselves, and they said, look, we will float those shares, give us the money now, we'll do the paperwork afterwards, but we need the money now. They had good faith in us, so we were given the money. And we went back and said, here's the money. Can we now have? So it was given to us like a bitter pill. And we never looked back. We never looked back. So we actually went ahead and started developing that area. Those projects that we had written for, all the proposals that we had written for, came out so successfully. I was there as an executive for 9 years, from Secretary General to Senior Secretary General to Associate Chair and then to full Chair. And by the time I'm exiting 9 years later, that place with the 4-acre plot, we had so many projects running. Our budget when I came in was 243,000 shillings, I remember that. All of it generated by the East African Medical Journal. By the time I left, we had 19 full-time office employees, very senior people, who were working there, professionals, paid for with a budget of 70 million shillings, working on different projects. You can see the leap from where we came from, and we said we are not looking back. KMA is going to be the organ for doctors. We will fight for our rights. We will become a headache to anybody who is going to be against us, We will spearhead CMEs, we will spearhead medical education, we will insist on expanding medical education services in this country. And so be it. We did. The rest of it, as you can see, is actually history now. So we were very, very happy that we pioneered. There were elders before us, obviously. They did whatever little that they did, but the catapulting of KMA into an organ of power came around that time. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Very well
That's
put.
an excellent story. Yeah.